The NBA trade deadline is right around the corner, and we have our very first official trade. And boy, is it a massive one. What is going on, y'all? 5 Sports Hall back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA, and here to break down this massive 4-team trade that involves 12 players, 14 if you include the draft picks, and there is a whole lot to break down here. But before I get into that, if you're new to the channel, guys, welcome. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe. Helps me out a lot when you support the channel, and you can do so by subscribing and also hitting the bell icon down below to be notified every time I drop a new video, folks. There's probably going to be way more trades coming through, and I'm going to be bringing you guys all those updates and the analysis on those trades. And with that being said, follow me also on Twitter as well. That is where all the breaking news happens, so you're going to want to stay tuned and plugged in. So go ahead and follow me on there and Instagram as well. With that being said, we have got a lot to talk about. I'm going to break this down from every single angle, every team, the pros and cons of each team, and finally tell you which team won this trade or which teams lost this trade. So let's get started. So we have to, of course, start with the trade itself, and there is a lot to digest here. And of course, I've got my board here. Now, don't get intimidated. I will walk you through every single piece of this, okay? But stay with me, okay? We'll start with the 4 teams involved. We've got the Rockets, the Hawks, the Wolves, and the Nuggets, okay? And we obviously start at the top here with the Houston Rockets, who traded for, so this is what they get. They get Robert Covington and Jordan Bell. The Atlanta Hawks get Clint Capela from, of course, the Houston Rockets, as well as center Nene. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they get Malik Beasley, Juancho Hernan-Gomez from the Denver Nuggets, Evan Turner from the Atlanta Hawks, Jared Vanderbilt from the Denver Nuggets, and a first-round pick, okay? And finally, the Denver Nuggets get Gerald Green from the Houston Rockets, Keita Bates-Diop from the Timberwolves, a first-round pick via the Rockets. By the way, the first-round pick for the Wolves is from the Hawks via the Nets, I believe. Or it's via the Nets, yes. And then Shabazz Napier is also going to the Denver Nuggets from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and so is Noah Vonleh. So a lot to digest here. We'll start, obviously, at the top and break it down, moving below. And we'll start with the Houston Rockets, okay? They obviously moved the biggest name in this trade, which is Clint Capela, okay? And we had heard multiple rumors leading up to today and the days in the past of Clint Capela being on the trade block. And he was getting shopped heavily, okay? And I hadn't really made a video about it because, to me, I had trouble understanding why the Rockets were so adamant on trading Clint Capela. I mean, the reports I was reading, the Rockets are aggressively trying to move Clint Capela. They want to move him. They need to move him. And I'm over here thinking, why? Clint Capela is a very good young center, folks. He's 25 years old. He's averaging a double-double, 13 and 13 a game. He's good at, what he does, which is catch lobs and play defense. And for the Houston Rockets, he's been very, very productive. And so it didn't really make sense to me. So I did a little bit more digging, a little bit more research. And obviously the rumors had talked about how the Rockets wanted to upgrade their wing situation, okay? And Robert Covington was thrown in those rumors. And obviously they acquired him, okay? And Robert Covington's one of the best 3-and-D players that we have in the league, okay? He is a prototypical 3-and-D guy. He can play the small forward and power forward position. Very, very solid player. But why do the Rockets want to trade Clint Capela? That is the question. And here's what I've been able to gather. This, to me, reeks of Mike D'Antoni. I believe this is Mike D'Antoni trying to go back to playing small ball. Like he did, again, with the previous teams that he's coached, like the Phoenix Suns, like the New York Knicks. He doesn't want any bigs. He wants to play small ball. And, the other thing with the Rockets is they felt like they needed to get better. You're not going to move Harden or Westbrook. You can't trade Eric Gordon. I believe there's some restriction on that. And so at that point, the only piece you have on your team that teams really would want is Clint Capela. And so that's why they look to move him. But again, the repercussions here are ridiculous because you, at this point right now, have PJ Tucker as your starting center, okay? When this trade first, came out, the news came out about this trade, Jordan Bell was not included yet. A lot of details came later, and so obviously getting Jordan Bell in there is big because, again, they have virtually no big man depth. Folks, PJ Tucker is their starting center right now, okay? They've got guys like a washed up, over-the-hill Tyson Chandler, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jordan Bell. And so it is clearly Mike D'Antoni and obviously Daryl Morey saying, let's go the opposite and ying when everybody yangs, which is go back to playing absolute small ball with no center. Now, again, this could be the first of many moves, and they could acquire another big man. But as for why they want to trade Clint Capela, to me, it's because of those two reasons. One, they don't really have anybody else to trade, and they feel like they need to get better, even though they're fifth in the Western Conference. They're, fairly decent. And I mean, there wasn't really going to be something out there that would have put them, in my opinion, over the Lakers or the Clippers. But again, they felt like they needed to improve, and Clint Capela was going to be, the guy that they were going to move. Okay, he was going to be the guy that was basically going to be the one that they actually traded versus the other guys because he was their most tradable asset, okay? So that is the reason why they moved him. Again, they acquired Robert Covington, so now you've got a lineup that virtually consists of Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Eric Gordon, Robert Covington, and PJ Tucker. Boy, that is small. And here is my main issue with this. Again, if the Rockets are done and they are not acquiring bigs, good luck in the playoffs defending guys like Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, and Rudy Gobert with PJ Tucker. Let me know how that goes, okay? Because I think that is going to be a flat-out mess for the Houston Rockets. I just can't fathom them doing this without some sort of a plan in place for getting and acquiring some more size. I don't know. PJ Tucker is going to guard these guys. Really? PJ Tucker? Like, you got to be kidding me. Now let's move on to the other teams. We'll go to the Atlanta Hawks, who were able to acquire, of course, the aforementioned Clint Capela. And they also got Nene, who's just throwing at this point. Again, he's washed up. He's old. He's closer to retirement than he used to playing for the Atlanta Hawks, okay? With Clint Capela, I like this for the Atlanta Hawks a lot, okay? Again, I've mentioned Clint Capela and the fact that he's a young, up-and-coming center. He's a very good rim runner, rim protector, shot blocker, catching lobs. And with Trae Young, John Collins, and now you've got Clint Capela, who's under contract for about 4 more years, I believe, you've got a nice nucleus in Atlanta. Here's the thing. At some point, you need to start actually building a good team. Atlanta's been rebuilding for years, okay? But now it's time to start building for an actual future. And I even shouldn't say future, I should say present. It's time to build for now, as in, let's start winning some games, Atlanta. And that is what this move was all about with getting Clint Capela. He's young enough to fit into their core and their future, but also good enough in the present to be able to propel them to where they want to go, which is, of course, become a better team, because Atlanta's awful right now, okay? But Clint Capela should help. He's going to be an immediate upgrade for their center spot. They were starting guys like Alex Len and Damian Jones, okay? So that is an immediate upgrade, and now you've got a nice 3-piece core with Trae Young, John Collins, and Clint Capela. So I like this for the Hawks. They did have to give up a first-round pick, but to me, again, this was a solid return for the Atlanta Hawks. Let's move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They acquired Malik Beasley, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, Evan Turner, Jared Vanderbilt, and a first-round pick. This trade does not look that great for the Timberwolves because, again, they got a bunch of quote-unquote scrubs for a starter in Robert Covington. But I don't hate it for the Timberwolves, and here's why. Robert Covington, to me, was no longer going to fit in the Timberwolves' plans, okay? He's 29. The Timberwolves know that they either are going to build around a younger nucleus in Karl Anthony Towns and start over with what he wants, like a D'Angelo Russell, which I'll get to in a second, or they were going to, take the guys that they have right now and go forward with them, which they clearly didn't want to do. So with Robert Covington, again, a very good 3-and-D player, But the key part here is the age being 29. We know the Minnesota Timberwolves are no longer in win now mode, even though they would like to be, okay? And they certainly could get there. But Robert Covington is expandable, okay? Ever since Jimmy Butler, we know the Wolves have not made the playoffs, and they've been awful recently. The first round pick is what's most important here, because that first round pick is what they are going to utilize to flip in a potential D'Angelo Russell trade, folks. They are trying to maneuver, the Wolves are, a trade for D'Angelo Russell, because D'Angelo Russell is good friends with Karl Anthony Towns, and they want to make sure that Karl Anthony Towns is happy. And so if it takes Robert Covington getting traded, so be it for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And again, you acquired some depth here, and I called him scrubs earlier. I probably shouldn't have. Malik Beasley is a very solid two-guard. Juancho Hernangomez just doesn't get as much time as he should, but he's a solid shooter. He just plays for a loaded Denver Nuggets team. Evan Turner is obviously a bit washed up. Jared Vanderbilt's a young player. So again, to me, some of these guys are serviceable bench pieces, but for the most part, the first-round pick is what they needed, and they got. And they wanted a first-round pick for Robert Covington, and they got that. So I don't hate this for the Timberwolves. I really don't, okay? And finally, let's talk about the Denver Nuggets, who are a surprise dark horse team that came in the last second. I didn't expect them to be part of this trade because I hadn't heard any rumors about them. But boy, did they come in and they take a lot of pieces. They got Gerald Green, who's hurt right now. Keita Bates-Diop, I probably butchered his name, but he was formerly of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shabazz Napier, surprisingly, came out of nowhere. He's the starting point guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Noah Vonleh. And, of course, a first-round pick from the Rockets. And they did have to give up Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernangomez and Jared Vanderbilt. Now, these are fairly insignificant pieces of their rotation, but they are still good players. Now, here's why they made this trade, in my opinion. To kind of clear out the decks for the bench and give more playing time to Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. has been getting a ton of playing time, but mainly due to injury, because Paul Millsap has been out and Jamal Murray had been out. And not to mention Gary Harris as well. And so once that happened, Michael Porter Jr. was forced to play, and they obviously saw Michael Porter Jr. can play and he can ball, and they liked what they saw. And so for Michael Porter Jr. to be able to get consistent playing time, they are going to have to clear out some players, because again, this happens all the time in the NBA where, you have guys that are going to be unhappy, and guys like Malik Beasley and Juancho play the same position as MPJ. Juancho really does. I mean, Malik Beasley is a two guard, but Michael Porter Jr. can play 2, 3, or 4 really. And so that's what they had to do. Shabazz Napier surprises me a little bit, because they already have Monty Morris to back up Jamal Murray, and now you've got a third point guard. So that one feels like a little bit of an overkill. But again, Gerald Green, Bates-Diop, they could literally cut these guys. I mean, they're on one-year deals. It doesn't really matter. So to me, this was a little bit more about clearing house. And they got a first-round pick from the Rockets in this trade. They'll take it, folks, because again, at this point, the Nuggets are too deep. Like, they're way too deep, where they didn't have enough playing time to give everybody. And so that's kind of why they made this move, in my opinion. And to be honest, I don't hate it either. I kind of like it for them, because of the fact that, again, this will allow them to give Michael Porter Jr. more playing time. They got a first-round pick out of it. And Shabazz Napier is a solid backup point guard, and he's going to be probably their third string unless they play him, backup too. So I like this. So overall, that is, kind of what was in line for each team in this trade. So that was a lot to digest. A lot happened here. But basically, to summarize it all, I believe the winners of this trade are the Atlanta Hawks, number one for sure, then the Minnesota Timberwolves, then the Denver Nuggets, and then finally the Houston Rockets. So basically saying the Rockets lost the trade, in my opinion. And the other three teams, again, the Hawks won this trade. Wolves and Nuggets are, to me, kind of indifferent. But again, I still feel like they kind of got what they wanted, so I would put them a little bit more towards the winning side. But to me, this, again, it's not registering me for the Houston Rockets until they make a move for a big man. I don't know how they are going to cover other bigs. I guess I know they want to play small ball, but again, there are some limitations here. So overall, that is my analysis on the trade, folks. The Atlanta Hawks won. the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets next, and then the Houston Rockets, I believe, lost this trade. Unless there's more trade coming. But again, that doesn't impact this trade, which I still believe they lost. So there you have, folks. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Leave a comment down below with who you feel like won this trade, lost this trade. Do you like it? Do you not? If I've got Rocket fans following me, Hawks fans, Wolves fans, or Nuggets fans, let me know what you guys think as well. Leave a comment down below if you guys agree with me or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.